Hey everyone, Mystical Mark here. So this will be your weekly astrology forecast for the week of December 29th, 2024 to January 4th of 2025. Now, before we get into the charts for this week, if you are looking to get a reading with me, you can head on over to my Etsy shop at mysticalmarkastro.etsy.com. And if you're watching this video, you can use the code 50OFF in all capital letters. That's 50OFF, all capitals, to get 50% off all readings that are available there. If you're wanting to support me through my Ko-Fi, you can head on over there. Link is in the description below as well. Memberships start as low as $1 a month. You can also head on over to the Discord server if you want. And is there anything else I want to say about any of that? I don't think so. But one of the easiest ways you can support me, of course, is by hitting that like button, comment, subscribing if you're on YouTube, hitting that follow button if you are on TikTok. It helps the algorithm to do its algorithm thing, and it's always much appreciated. Thank you. All right, and of course, before we head into the charts for this week, I do get stuff through intuitively surrounding all of this. So as with any intuitive reading and anything that's related to the future, of course, I do these videos. I'm not doing this on the exact day that things are happening, so I'm doing this beforehand. So as with any future type reading, this is from this current vantage point going forward. And of course, there is free will. Okay, so things are always subject to change. However, the landscape of astrology is an energetic template conducive to certain things, so we're still going to be feeling the energetic themes that are surrounding whatever. Even though the path may have changed or we have made a certain decision, those energetic themes are still going to relate to whatever that is coming through. All right? Okay. So I think that is all I have got to say for this right now. So let me pull up the chart here and let us have a look. So we're going to start off here on Sunday, December 29th. All right, first thing I've got here on my little list of things going on is Chiron goes direct. All right, so Chiron is no longer retrograde. As you may have seen in my past videos regarding aspects to Chiron, etc., we're talking about, Chiron retrograde, going over these old things where we've been hurt before, wounded before, wanting to heal that old stuff that keeps on coming up. Right now, Chiron is direct, so we're moving forward. Of course, there's always shadow periods, etc. So we're wanting to move forward into our healing process. But as Chiron moves forward now, it may be not so much as a re-review as in how we're taking action to really heal these things and move forward in those new directions. All right. Also on this day, we're going to have Venus in biquintile to the South Node. Of course, Venus, the ruler of Libra here, South Node, is still in Libra. So this is very Venus-y type energy. Of course, Venus ruling the South Node in Libra and Venus in Aquarius. We're dealing a lot with aspects of change. With this biquintile, this is very feminine type of energy as well. Could be something that's going on behind the scenes to try to enact these aspects of change and letting go, etc. But it's like putting in that creative work, that creative flow type energy. It may seem like aspects of fate coming through. Remember, fate is what you create, okay? Fate is just a manifestation that is now coming to fruition, basically, in a lot of ways. We can see fate as whether it was a soul agreement before our incarnation here that certain things were going to happen, or something that we're manifesting through from our physical vantage point or perspective as well. It could be any of that stuff that is now coming through, stuff that we're working on to create, that is being built, from behind the scenes, that is now coming through, that seems like it's faded, but it's just a manifestation of what we've been working on, etc. That kind of stuff, right? But this is surrounding aspects of change. However, fate can also come through. Our higher selves can help us in a lot of ways as well. Our divine teams, source could be manifesting things in certain ways. Other people manifest stuff all the time. Like it's all like interworking and interrelated. Okay, but this is, again, it's that behind the scenes work. It's very feminine work, very creative type of stuff that's going on here. surrounding aspects of change. So there may be a creative, it could be stuff that's coming through from behind the scenes or maybe deemed as fate, but there could be a creative solutions to maybe shaking things up or a letting go that needs to occur within relationships as well. So still carrying over, I feel, from the video from last week, surrounding a lot of expansion of awareness, change regarding people, places, things, all of that stuff. So go watch that video if you want to hear more about that in terms of what happened last week. Although if you're watching this one, you've probably been through that already. So we're just kind of continuing that on. All right. Okay. We're also, interestingly enough, going to have the sun here in sesqui-square to Uranus retrograde. So again, Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, where Venus is. Venus is, of course, the ruler of Taurus, where Uranus is. There's kind of that mutual vibe going on here. Even though Uranus is retrograde, so, you know, some people say, like in astrology, that if a mutual reception isn't going to occur, if there's a planet, you know, in some kind of detriment, like a retrograde or something like that. But I feel like here, this is still, even though Uranus is retrograde, it's still valid because we're dealing with changes that we know that we've already needed to make, right? And with Taurus is so bloody fucking stubborn that it doesn't want to fucking move. All right, but this is like, no, sorry, we're moving now. Like I said before, Uranus is like the cattle prod to get the kind of kick the bull in the ass. Anyway, but there's a sesqui-square here, and what I feel with this Capricorn and this Taurus energy is this is very like earthy, grounded energy in terms of, and with this sesqui-square is like a super square, something that can't be swept under the rug any longer, okay? And that needs to actually change. So maybe that is certain wrongs that need to be righted, or whatever else, you know, really needs to change. But I feel like this is very heavy, like world stuff, in terms of really what needs to occur here. And I'm being drawn back to more of the stuff I talked about in last week's video as well. Expansion of awareness, smoke alarm agrees, expansion of awareness, and that sort of stuff's coming through for new beginnings, for that expansion, for that all of that change and stuff that is occurring here. But again, that is dealing a lot with these Venus-related themes as it's kind of related. Venus is still, of course, in square to this Uranus as well. So that's playing a huge role here. And with that biquintality of the South Node, there's that aspect of rebellion, that change, that I almost wanted to say uniqueness as well. Uniqueness and individuality, and the respecting of that aspect of diversity that is really coming through here. Because you have to remember, Capricorn energy, Saturn can be quite restrictive, but now maybe you branching out into more diverse area, diverse feelings, and through that aspect of rebellion and change as well, in that sense too. But there is something here that can no longer be swept under the rug any longer regarding aspects of change. And with this Capricorn energy too, it's also like being the boss. Okay, we got to take care of this now. We got to do this now. Let's go. This is a goal now. We have to do this. Let's go. Let's take care of it. Let's put in the fucking work to actually make this fucking change happen. Right? So, yeah. Anyways, also here we're going to have Mercury in sesqui-square to Mars. Okay, so again, I feel like this is, and with Mercury still in opposition to Jupiter, and with Mercury still in post-shadow, okay, we're dealing with this expansion of awareness, right? I said with these Mercury retrograde along with Jupiter retrograde, this is mutual retrograde reception. That's what I called it. You can watch my previous videos on that. Surrounding this expansion of awareness that is occurring here. And with the sesqui-square to Mars, I've talked about this relating to the divine masculine, or just masculine energy in general. Remember, we have divine masculine energy within all of us. We have both divine masculine and divine feminine energy. Of course, that doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is or gender identity or whatever. All of that is still, of course, valid, but we all have both energies within all of us. And this is kind of a re-review of the expression of that, with Mars currently in Leo, at least, with the expression of that, and feeling that the positive expression of Leo is coming from the heart. The negative expression is being egotistical. Okay. And the negative shit that kind of comes with that. So what I'm kind of feeling with this is like it's the masculine learning to be more positively expressing from the heart, and with this retrograde, looking over those old ways in which we have either not taken action or have taken action, or in terms of that masculine energy where those old ways of being masculine, and how we need to actually change that to a more positive, appropriate way as well. And with the sesqui square here, this is bringing that strong awareness again. And whatever was brought up through this past Mercury retrograde as well, the expansion of this awareness and where we kind of need to move forward, or what we need to let go of in order for things to change. Remember, Mercury is still conjunct Uranus' south node, Jupiter conjunct Uranus' north node. They're still in opposition here. There's this expansion of awareness regarding those aspects of change and moving into new different directions. Remember, that's very Jupiterian and Sagittarian, understanding the multiple different ways of doing things, expanding. There's multiple different beliefs, multiple different, like, there isn't just one way, right? And it's about maybe changing about what maybe that expression is to a more positive one. We're moving in a lot of new directions here, especially coming into next year. So I've said that before multiple times. All right. Okay, so that's kind of all that I have for Sunday here, the 29th. Let's move on to Monday the 30th here, and this is where we're going to have this new moon in Capricorn. Okay. So we kind of have, interesting, this new moon here in this triseptile to Jupiter, relating to this expansion of awareness. Now, septiles can relate to aspects of fate, higher divine stuff coming through. Again, like I said, this can relate to our manifestation, but and what I'm kind of feeling with that is this grounding in that is occurring with this new moon in Capricorn. If you watched it's kind of in last week's video, but in the previous weeks as well, so pay attention to kind of what I've said and what I'm saying here, in that when the sun came into Capricorn, as it was on that last degree of Sagittarius, that was surrounding, I think, the full moon in Gemini, Mercury coming direct, all of that, and then like grounding in as it came to Capricorn, those ideas of expansion and change and releasing that which was kind of in the way to a new vision of awareness that was coming through. And now I feel like we're kind of continuing this grounding of that in. And from a higher perspective is kind of maybe what I feel that triseptile is there. However, this could deal with that higher realm coming through. Like I said, that higher perspective. This could deal with aspects of fate, all those kinds of things kind of coming through in that way. Oddly enough, I'm being drawn to this binovile to Black Moon Lilith in Libra surrounding this. So like I said in my last week's video, there was other aspects to Black Moon Lilith here from Capricorn, and this could be about, I said, it may be setting appropriate boundaries as well to where we have been outcast in terms of our relationships and things like that. Venus is of course ruling over this Libran energy and is in Aquarius, where we need to change, respect our uniqueness, individuality, etc. Not be so put upon, so codependent, or felt unjust in terms of our uniqueness, individuality, who we are, understanding that diversity is important, that it shouldn't be frowned upon, and maybe grounding in that new way where we're not doing that kind of stuff. Remember that with noviles, that it's giving birth to something. So we're almost grounding in maybe this new way, because with that Venus energy in Aquarius relating, that's ruling over this Libran stuff surrounding where we've been outcast and where those changes are, it's like where we have been outcast, we need to find balance in, and now we're giving birth in terms of maybe grounding that in some way, in some reference surrounding that. And again, like I said, with that triseptile here, there's some, maybe even a faded aspect that feels like it's coming through surrounding this idea of expansion of awareness and now grounding that into our reality. Because you have to remember now, Pluto is no longer in Capricorn, Pluto is in Aquarius. All right, so this is probably I think it's the first time in a long time that ever since Pluto has been in Capricorn, that now we're experiencing this Capricorn season without Pluto being there. Okay, so now we're grounded. Instead of having Pluto there giving power to that old Capricorn BS, now we're grounding in with this Capricorn energy this new stuff surrounding these aspects of change, etc., expansion of awareness, etc., through all of this. Right? So there's more positivity kind of coming through now, and now we're grounding in and starting this out in this new way, in this new expansive way in these areas, and putting the work in and setting these new goals to expanding in these areas as well. All right. Of course, also on this day, we're going to have Saturn here in this biquintile to Black Moon Lilith. Now, I talked about this in last week's video where Saturn was in quintile. I believe it was to the Sun. Black Moon Lilith was in quintile to the Sun. Now, it relates to dissolution of that malefic energy surrounding maybe where we have been outcast, etc. Of course, you have to remember Saturn does rule Capricorn, where this new moon is occurring. And with Saturn in Pisces, I consider that the dissolution of malefic energy. Smoke alarm agrees. And with this quintile here aspecting that aspect of Black Moon Lilith, there is a feminine vibe coming through here with these quintiles and biquintiles. So there could be maybe a dissolution of the negative aspect of that. But I feel like that this is creative energy kind of coming through now, maybe even fated energy coming through, or what we want manifest coming through in terms of what we're wanting to create, what we've been building or working on behind the scenes to dissolve the old world BS. Smoke alarm agrees, and the negative restrictions and stuff of that Saturn in terms of where we've been put upon, outcast, etc., and now grounding in this new areas of expansion and grounding in the dissolution of those old ways in this way now, right? So it's very creative energy, very flowing energy, very feminine energy, but that is helping us to kind of create and manifest this new stuff and dissolve these old ways of being in a lot of ways there. All right, so that's kind of the new moon in Capricorn. We're grounding, I wanted to say grounding in a new earth. We're grounding in this change, grounding in this expansion. Like I talked about in last week's video, where these cycles are slowly shifting us to expand, to see new awareness, to see just change, a lot of stuff that's occurring here. Because as I've talked about before in previous videos, when these nodal shifts happen with South Node in Virgo, North Node in Pisces, especially at the beginning of there with that conjunction to Neptune, we're heading into the unknown. We're heading into unknown territory where absolutely anything is possible. We can create and do anything. Okay, that's always been there. We've always been able to do that. It's just the bullshit restriction and beliefs of this world have made us believe that we couldn't, right? And that's part of what this expansion of belief and all of this likely is pushing us towards. It's expanding us, helping us to move into a new awareness and into new directions, because that's where we're headed. We're headed into unknown territory where what we've deemed as practical and day-to-day normal stuff isn't going to be like that anymore, right? It's not going to be there like that anymore. So we're moving into the new territory in that way. Okay, so, and like I've said before, South Node Libra can feel like a constant Venus retrograde in terms of that theme. Now we're going to have South Node Virgo, which is ruled by Mercury, so it could feel like a constant Mercury retrograde for like 18 months. Okay, but in essence, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's what we have to rework and relook at in those areas, because what we've known before, what we've been used to in a practical way, just isn't going to be practical anymore. Because we can make it whatever we want. We're moving into new directions. We're moving into the unknown, but that's not a bad thing. All right. Okay, so that's the 30th now. Let's move on to the 31st. So on the 31st here, we're going to have Pluto in sextile to the North Node and trine the South Node. So again, we're dealing with these aspects of transformation and change, being drawn to the fact that Pluto is also in shadow period as well. It doesn't come out of shadow, I think, till the beginning of February-ish. So we're still going over these old grounds of what we need to transform and change. And this is a lot of ways. This could be awakenings, awareness, technological change. All of this Pluto and Aquarius stuff that we really need to get used to, because we're going to be here for the next 20 years with Pluto and Aquarius surrounding these aspects of change, innovation, progressive. It's a very progressive sign, okay? Get used to it because it's happening. All right, so, but with these aspects to the nodes, these are positive aspects, but with this trine especially, I feel like there's something here that really needs to be let go of. And with Venus ruling over this area, and with Venus also in Aquarius, dealing with aspects of change, could be related with uniqueness, individuality, who's our tribe, who we want to connect to or disconnect from, or connecting and reconnecting in a different way, those types of things. But it's surrounding it's all aspects of change, but that can also relate to our uniqueness, our individuality in a lot of ways too. And especially because I'm kind of being drawn to the North Node here in Aries as well, our individual self, but how we fit into the collective regarding our own uniqueness, and the fact that diversity is in fact important, right? And Aquarius is also very humanitarian, and humanitarian in that way as well, in terms of diversity and such, etc. Okay, so there could be a letting go of maybe certain people, certain things that aren't on our vibe anymore. If we're shifting and changing, that doesn't have to be a bad thing, but it can be a good thing, right? But we also don't want to be hurting people. We don't want to be, how do I want to say this? We don't want to be hurting good people in any of this. But if somebody's been an asshole to you, obviously they need to get let go of. But like, yeah, I'm not going to go touch on that maybe a bit too much here. But again, what I feel is this surrounding aspects of change and the direction in which we need to move forward in, maybe surrounding our uniqueness and individual self. But there's an aspect of letting go, either letting go of relationships, letting go of what's unjust, letting go of where we've been put upon in a lot of ways, and maybe really learning to respect a lot more now uniqueness, individuality, diversity, all of that kind of stuff, and our own self and where we can fit in with that in terms of moving forward now again. And it's likely to be stuff that has maybe been brought up through Pluto retrograde too, excuse me. So pay attention to that. For those of you that don't know, oftentimes when I burp or whatever during these readings, they're kind of giving me a sign that, yeah, okay, yeah, you pay attention. That's right. So, yeah. Okay, also on this day, we're going to have Mercury in trine to Chiron. Sorry, I'm recording these where Mercury is still in shadow period, of course. So things are like, anyway. So Mercury now direct, close to coming out of shadow period actually, but still in shadow now and trine to Chiron. Chiron now direct. Okay, so both of these planets, smoke alarm agrees, both of these planets still in their post-shadow periods, but now direct, and with this trine focusing on that aspect of healing. But I feel like it's through this expansion and awareness of the beliefs, so letting go of what needs to be let go of and expanding into new areas, especially in terms of healing our identity and our sense of self as well. And that can relate, of course, to what I've already talked about surrounding, diversity, expansion, all of that stuff. This is very progressive stuff now that I feel like we're really heading into. Smoke alarm agrees. Okay. But whatever awareness, whatever expansion here, especially with this trine, is now leading now to this positive aspect of healing that is occurring here. We're not really going over that old space anymore. In a sense, we are, but it's moving forward again. If that makes any sense, in order to, heal and expand in those areas. So pay attention to what has come up during Mercury retrograde, etc., and especially the wounds and stuff that have come up during that, as that will likely be pushing forward now into maybe a more healing direction. Okay, we're also going to have Venus here in semi-sextile to Neptune. All right, so again, this aspect of change, of letting go, connection, disconnection, but I'm just feeling more of change. Diversity is another thing that is coming through here, especially with this Neptune and Pisces type energy, strong aspect of compassion, as well as there's no boundaries to Pisces. There's no boundaries to that Neptune and Pisces type energy. It's that anything goes, and that's all valid. It's that creativity to be who you are, whatever that is, and allowing that to shine through, and that you're still a part of the collective in some way, and that diversity is unique and it's valid and it's good, right? And it's good. Okay, we're moving into like a new world, a new space, a new sense of understanding in a lot of these ways, right? And I'm being drawn to the fact of, I did a video on the astrology of Gen Z. A lot of Gen Z have a lot of this Pisces Aquarian type of vibe in their outer planetary generational aspects. So if you're interested in any of that, because I'm kind of being drawn to this, that's a kind of a vibe that's kind of coming through here. So if you're interested in that and what that generation is bringing to our world, you can check out that video. It is almost 2 hours long, but it needed to be, because there's a lot of information there. We're talking about an entire generation of people there. So, but there is that vibe kind of coming through here as well. Also, we're going to have Juno in quincunx to Chiron too. Okay, so Juno dealing with partnerships, contractual partnerships, business contracts, any type of committed partnership, whether, it's a business contract or dealing with people, relationship type stuff, etc. In Scorpio, basically intensifying it, but it's also transforming it. There's a transformation that needs to occur here. Obviously, the ruler of Scorpio, Pluto, is in Aquarius, so dealing with this aspect of change, transformation and change. With that quincunx to Chiron, there's an aspect of healing that maybe needs to occur here surrounding whatever needs to change or needs to be changed, or there's changes that need to occur that are surrounding an aspect of healing now with Chiron moving forward, healing aspects of individuality, etc. Maybe these contracts need to be severed, maybe they need to be changed and transformed in some way, or dealt with in some way. Could be the stuff regarding that's being brought to the surface, especially in Scorpio, where it's like, hey, you can't, there's no more bullshit here, this needs to be dealt with, transformed, whatever, right? But there's a frustration here, likely a frustration or an integration that needs to occur surrounding this. So it could be triggering, dealing with aspects of Chiron, but this is now moving forward into healing, maybe whatever that kind of stuff is that is coming up in that way. All right, so let's move on to January 1st here. So on January 1st, we're going to have Pluto in quintile to Juno. So again, I feel like this is surrounding more of just what I just said, maybe regarding that quincunx, but also with this quintile, that behind the scenes creative type energy, we're manifesting the change that is occurring here, and we could be getting help from other realms through that manifestation, or it could feel like it's coming through, it could feel like fate, whatever, etc. Remember, fate is what you create, okay? So whether it was what you wanted to create before you incarnated or during this incarnation, all right? And during this incarnation, it's not just from your physical self, but from your higher self, your team, from source, etc. Okay? All right. So again, there's that transformation is really strongly highlighted surrounding whatever these contractual partnerships are. And also, like, it could be stuff that has already been worked on behind the scenes, but now we're beginning to shift and change that as it's beginning and transform it to, be born anew in some way as, this is coming through. Because you have to remember, Scorpio energy is like that phoenix rising from the ashes. It's like you have to face what you got to face in order to transform, break it down, heal it, and then you're born again to do whatever, right? Scorpio rules death and sex. What's going to get you into this world and what's going to get you out of it. Okay, that aspect of transformation, to be born again, whether it's into a physical reality or whether it's exiting the physical reality back into a non-physical reality. As that cycle of life, that cycle of death and rebirth, right, that exists within that. And that's that aspect of transformation that occurs with Scorpio and Pluto as well. It's a very powerful energy, which is why Scorpio is very intense, very powerful, and why Pluto can give a very strong power to the sign that it is in, and also to transform in whatever way, whatever energies that the sign that it's in brings up as well. All right, so there's very strong transformative changing energies being drawn a bit to that connection disconnection aspect of Aquarius in terms of maybe those partnerships. Maybe it's changing partnerships, transforming it in that way as well. feel like maybe this is behind the scenes stuff, or behind the scenes stuff now beginning to come through or becoming into our awareness now as well. And maybe there's a shocking aspect to this as well too, since we are dealing with Aquarian energy. Okay, we're also going to have Mercury here in sextile to Black Moon Lilith. So again, there's an expansion of awareness maybe surrounding maybe where we've been outcast, but where we need to expand and heal a lot of that stuff and a lot of those places too. I've talked about this. Why are we going to Mercury again? I've talked about this before with this Jupiter, Mercury stuff. They're in each other's signs, that Mercury retrograde reception type energy between these two planets throughout this Mercury retrograde, past Mercury retrograde that we've been through. You can watch my previous videos on that, where this expansion of awareness, expansion of beliefs, seeing multiple avenues now instead of just maybe where we've been stuck, but it's moving into new spaces, new directions, etc. There's lots of change, lots of expansion and stuff that's occurring here. And again, with this Capricornian energy, I feel like this is really grounding that in and now really beginning to put in the work towards whatever we've been going through in these past cycles, especially as we head in to this next year of 2025, where we're going to experience a lot of astrological changes, especially, which means there's going to be lots of energetic changes. And of course, as it relates, astrology relates to the natural cycles of the universe. So we're heading into these new spaces, etc. And that's where this is starting to, it's helping us to begin to shift into these new areas, into these new spaces as we're heading into them, basically. So with this sextile, again, there's this opportunity to expand our awareness and maybe terms where we have been outcast, maybe even to heal that, but the awareness of where we have been. And it's like, okay, now we've got to deal with this. We've got to expand either away from this, or awareness is coming through. Oh my God, this has been happening. What the hell? Right? And this has been unjust. This has been whatever. And I'm being drawn now again to this binovile to the south node in terms of what we have to let go of in terms of those Libran themes of being outcast, being put upon, whatever. And through this awareness, we are now giving birth. We are learning of what we have to let go of, those negative traits of codependency, feeling outcast in terms of our relationships, etc., and expanding our awareness and into new areas as that happens. We're giving birth to that. We're learning that as we're going forward here surrounding this. So that could bring that up through awareness. There could be expansion of communication surrounding that Black Moon Lilith Libra type stuff that I mentioned. So just kind of be aware of that coming through. All right. Okay, so let's move on to Thursday the 2nd now here. So on this day, the one thing that is not on my list here to talk about is, of course, Mercury coming out of shadow. I don't believe it happens until around 9 p.m. Central Time, but Mercury does finally leave post-shadow and is heading into new territory and is moving forward now at full speed. Okay, so that happens later into the evening on January 2nd here. So the themes of this Mercury retrograde will be, well, for what has gone over for the retrograde. However, Mercury is still in Sagittarius, Jupiter is still in Gemini. There's still this expansion now, but I feel it's going to probably be more of a moving forward now, instead of relooking at certain things of where we need to expand. It's now more of, pay attention to this, now more of a moving forward in terms of that expansion, awareness, communication, etc., that is being brought up with that. Knowledge, beliefs, all of that kind of stuff. Right? So, yeah. We're also going to have Venus here moving into Pisces, so it doesn't happen as well until 9:24 p.m. So it's happening around the same time. Interesting that Jupiter, the modern ruler, or the ruler of Sagittarius, is the traditional ruler of Pisces, where Venus is now moving into this area of expansion, and where Venus is still ruling the South Node, now at that 0 degree point of Libra, right? So what we need, there's this idea of like expansion, moving into this new space, and it's like where anything is possible, this very creative, feminine, flowing energy, and maybe still at this last point, what we still need to let go of that's not serving us in terms of this Libran stuff, codependency, all of that, before that nodal energy really shifts into South Node Virgo, North Node Pisces. Okay, so Venus in Pisces, we're dealing with a very strong, very flowing feminine energy here, but I feel like, especially with this last bit of South Node in Libra, this is very strong feminine energy, and what we need to maybe release or let go of in terms of these themes, especially with Libra surrounding aspects of codependency, people, relationships, all of that, as these nodes will then shift. I just find it interesting that as these nodes are going to shift, the South Venus, that this very feminine type of energy surrounding Venus is happening, as well as Venus is ruling this. Because Venus, Pisces, it just reminds me of that very feminine, like flowing energy. Like if you picture like a woman like dressed in, I don't even know what I would call it, just like very light, white, like almost like silk and fabric. That's kind of the vision that I get, just like flowing in the breeze and the wind as she's like standing there. Like it's very going with the flow, very feminine, but it's like positive, like that feminine, creative type of energy, right? Where it's like anything is possible. That is the feminine energy. Feminine energy is very creative. It's intuitive. It's going with the flow. But it's that positive, it's that creativity, that understanding of that. And when you balance that out with the masculine, that action aspect of it, that expressive aspect of it, you then are able to express that part of it that exists there, which is why both energies are best when they work together harmoniously and understand that they are both very powerful, especially when used together. All right. Of course, that's the energies within you. That doesn't necessarily have to play out in a traditional heteronormative way. It can play out in any way, because we have both energies within all of us, right? Like I said, regardless of whatever your sexual orientation is, gender identity is, etc., that is all still valid, but we have both energies within all of us, and when they are in balance is when they're operating at their best. All right, so yeah, Venus in Pisces, I'm just feeling like that strong, like I said, with that feminine vision there, that strong feminine creative vibe now coming through here. Okay, it's interesting. All right, so also on this day we're going to have the sun in quincunx to Jupiter. All right, so this is that idea of expansion. Sun in Capricorn. All right, so with this new moon and stuff, I talked about this grounding in of these areas of expansion, etc. However, the kind of the vibe that I get is maybe a bit of an old world vibe with the sun and with this Capricornian stuff, relating maybe to where we need to expand here, and maybe now grounding in where we need to expand in those areas through our awareness. Now, Jupiter is still retrograde in Gemini. It's still that expansion of that communication, that awareness of our mind, of where we can expand into these new places. Still conjunct Uranus's North Node. The big changes that we need to make. Uranus in Taurus. Taurus is so stubborn and doesn't want to fucking change, but it's those big, thick, hefty material changes, or whatever changes that need to occur in our lives. Uranus, that cattle prod in Taurus, to get the bull fucking moving. And of course, we're dealing with a lot of like grounded earth energy as well in Capricorn. But this is a frustration here, an integration that needs to occur with this expansion of awareness and what we need to change, and now grounding it in, right? To not be stuck in that old mentality, but be grounding in this new awareness of a new mentality that is coming through. And some of the frustration here would be that, yes, we're beginning to see this awareness of maybe old world bullshit, or the old ways of kind of doing things, of stuff, and where we're expanding now in our awareness of being like, oh my God, we can't do that anymore. We're expanding in this belief in this direction, etc. But now we have to ground that in as well. And there's a frustration here surrounding maybe what we're getting and where we need to change, versus the structure and the heaviness of our world, etc. But where we need to ground, really what I'm getting at, where we need to ground in that change. Right, and bring it into our world as well. And there may be a relationship with that too. I'm being drawn to this septile here, to like Juno in Scorpio, with this. So I don't know, there could be a transformation, like I said, of those partnerships that almost seem faded or are being manifested in some way, coming through, being grounded in, whatever. But there's an expansion of awareness that is coming through. I don't know. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. I was just drawn to that, to talk about that for whatever reason. That means something for someone. It almost seems like partnerships that have existed, like business partnerships, contracts, things that maybe we haven't even known of, that are like changing in some way as well, but that maybe there's an awareness of that is now coming through. I don't know. That was just kind of one thing that was coming up. Look, I'm just the messenger, whether yeah. Anyways, but the basis of this is there's a frustration here surrounding the expansion of that. And I almost feel like it's relating to with that Uranus and Taurus type of energy as well, because it just doesn't want to change. But there's a strong aspect of change and transformation and stuff that needs to occur here, because we're dealing with the Jupiter on Uranus's north node in terms of the hefty changes that we need to make. But we need to integrate these beliefs and this expansion of these beliefs and awareness and stuff, and ground that into a new world and set new goals to be able to change like this kind of stuff, right? So yeah. There's also kind of a yod here, if you want to call it that. There's another quincunx here to Neptune's north node here in Leo. That's very like creative, especially with Neptune and Pisces, that malleable, mutable energy, the dissolution of things, etc. And with Leo, bringing things to light, the expression of maybe what's been hidden too as well. That's Neptune's north node to carry us into a future. But initially, what I was kind of drawn to was the creative aspects of both Pisces and Leo, of carrying us forward. And now I feel like maybe that's relating us to the nodal shift that's going to occur, etc. But yeah, there's like I said, these current cycles are relating us to the shift that is about to occur in 2025. A lot of the shifts, like it's not just the shift, it's like it's going to happen over time as the year progresses, but we're heading into new energetic territory and into the unknown, a lot of unknown territory as well. Okay, so let's then go to Friday, January 3rd. We're going to have Mars now in opposition to Pluto here, Pluto in Aquarius. Okay, so I believe the last time this opposition occurred would have been with Pluto in Capricorn and then Mars in Cancer because of retrogrades, etc. But now we're doing this in Leo and Aquarius. So again, what I feel is coming through relating to this change of masculine expression, smoke alarm agrees, or to this change of masculine expression in terms of, the change of the masculine expression, that transformation and change, that relating to uniqueness, individuality, diversity, etc., and bringing more love or the expression of love from this aspect of this masculine type of energy. As we're shifting into this new world, or shifting into this new space, that ultimately is going to be of a higher vibration. So in order for that to happen, the ideals in what we see as masculine now also needs to shift. Some of it is positive, but I think there's a lot of negative masculine stuff. I don't know whether did I talk about this in the last video where I was thinking like there's negative aspects of the patriarchy, negative aspects of like masculine energy or of masculinity that's very I don't know, where people say like men are shit or men are toxic or all this stuff, where it's like that's like old world stuff, where it's like we want to move to the more positive expression of the masculine, where it's expressed from the heart. It's where you take action from the heart. You fight for the heart. You fight for what's right, not to be a dick. Okay, like that kind of stuff. Okay, you're not fitting into some mold of what masculinity is. You're expressing your uniqueness, your individuality from the heart, and having the masculine support you positively in that way, and not fitting into some bullshit fucking mold or whatever that society teaches us to be. You know what I mean. So there's an aspect of that now coming through, especially with this retrograde, with this Mars retrograde going over that old space where you need to transform and change in that way and in that expression, right? Especially in Leo energy, it's that expression of self, bringing things to light in that way. The spotlight's on you in that sense, or in the masculine in this way, or in our own inner masculines. And that's for everyone, like I said, regardless of how you actually express, either physically or your gender expression or your sexual orientation or whatever. We have that masculine energy within all of us, and the expression of that is changing or coming into more of a balance as well. All right. Also, we're going to have Venus here in semi-sextile to the North Node and quincunx the South Node. So Venus now in Pisces. So I'm getting this dissolving kind of aspect and this flowing, watery type of aspect, but in quincunx to the South Node, maybe in terms of, but it's like this dissolution. There's this dissolving that's kind of occurring here. For some reason, it feels like this is going to be related to the nodal shift, because now it's like the South Node, but then it's going to shift into Virgo, and then the North Node's going to be in Pisces. So it's kind of like this little bit of a, I'm feeling with this quincunx, this frustration of maybe what we need, what we need to let go of. But regarding where we're going to be headed with this Pisces energy, how the fuck do I articulate this? This is hard to articulate because I can feel it, but I don't. It's like this letting go that has to happen because of what we're moving into with this Pisces energy, with that North Node in Pisces. I don't know how else to say it. Like, yeah. But it's like they're operating with each other. They're because Venus is still ruling over that South Node. They're like operating with each other as this shifts, and then the North Node will be in Pisces, and then Venus will be hanging out with the North Node. It's I don't know. It's like this kind of shift into this. It's like helping with this, but this quincunx here there's like an integration that needs to occur surrounding whatever is this dissolution and letting go of. But as we head into this new space, I don't know. It just feels. It's like just with anything that's like Pisces, it can be kind of weird. Because it's anything is possible. It's like this infinite realm of creativity. And Pisces aren't weird. Pisces are amazing people. But like this creativity where it's like anything is possible, like this flow, like this whatever. But there's this frustration here, maybe in terms of I don't know what it is, in terms of maybe it's what we need to let go of, really. What we need to integrate in terms of like where we're headed is what I'm getting. I don't know. I can't really. That's what I'm getting, guys. It's what I'm getting here. With a semi-sextile to the North Node in Aries in terms of now where we're headed. But I feel like, because that node, it's about to shift. It's surrounding whatever this is about to shift. This dissolution and this, it's like this flowing into this new space. But it could be frustrating to let go of like an old way, maybe. It's maybe kind of what's coming through, but letting go of the old way to shift towards this cardinal energy, as the North Node is still in Aries, to the new, which will ultimately be the unknown as the nodes shift. All right. Also on this day, we're going to have Mercury in quincunx to Uranus. All right, so yeah. This is, again, surrounding this aspects of expansion and awareness surrounding change. And the big changes and shifts that need to occur, that need to be made, but the integration that needs to occur here, because this can be frustrating because we're now heading into new territory. We're heading into unknown territory, heading into these new spaces, right? So there's an integration and maybe a frustration that needs to occur here surrounding this energy. And I'm also being drawn that maybe there's a bit of a yod here again too with this other quincunx to Saturn's North Node here in Cancer, with Saturn in Pisces, the dissolution of that malefic energy, and that what I'm feeling now is that malleable aspect of Pisces is it's a mutable sign surrounding change, but it's like this physical change in our reality as it begins to shift. And it's like there's an expansion of awareness. It's like, oh fuck, yeah, this stuff that we know we needed to change, yeah, it's like we actually need to change it. Yeah, it's like the dummies are kind of, it's like we're kind of getting it into the head now. It's like, oh fuck, yeah, I kind of knew we needed to do that already. Shit, we gotta fucking do it now. It's like, yeah, you do. It's like that Taurus energy that's like so stubborn it doesn't want to change, but it's like, oh wait, shit, that is actual valuable to change. You know, Uranus and Taurus, learning to see the value in change, right? That aspect of it that we're kind of coming through here. Okay, but there's a frustration there, something that needs to be integrated regarding this expansion of our mind, our awareness, what we learned through this Mercury retrograde, through that expansion, through that understanding that is coming through here. And it's like, oh fuck, yeah, we got to integrate this now. It can be frustrating, it can be whatever, because this is shit that we already should have fucking done before. But it's like, well, now it was a big change then, it's even fucking bigger now because we've avoided it for so long. Right? But now it needs to be integrated and occur through whatever that awareness is that is coming through here. So, yeah. All right, we've also got Venus here that is going to be in quincunx to Mars. So this is very much masculine, feminine type of energy, and the integration that needs to occur with this new expression of the masculine, as well as this very strong feminine type of flowing energy that is coming through, and that integration. I feel like that quincunx in this case is that integration. The energies don't normally kind of vibe, but they're going to be vibing. Okay, they're going to be forced to be vibing here with this quincunx, with that integration that needs to occur. I'm feeling like where the traditional masculine has left the feminine in the shitter, basically, like giving them the shit, where it's like we got to integrate this with this Pluto opposition to Mars, this integration and this change that needs to occur here surrounding that quincunx to the feminine, with the feminine in Pisces, what I was going to say, with Venus and Pisces, a very strong feminine flowing energy. There's now that integration, maybe that letting go of certain aspects of codependency, of where we've been put upon. I'm feeling like that put upon, or for that heaviness, maybe where the feminine has been pushed away, or certain things pushed upon the feminine, and in that aspect in some way, because there is kind of a yod here that's forming between the South Node as well as this Mars type of energy, and sextile there as well, right? So filming, if I can talk, forming that yod to Venus, again, with that feminine flow, that dissolving, that seeing. Again, there's an aspect of letting go, but there's that transformation and change with that Mars opposition Pluto, with that masculine energy, and integrating this. It's almost like integrating that feminine, integrating that aspect that's really coming through now to help us in this change and that transformation, the value of that feminine energy that has actually been suppressed through old patriarchy, through old masculine ideals, through all of that stuff, but it's learning to see like, oh shit, yeah, shouldn't have fucking done that. Feminine's just as powerful as the masculine. You need to work together, so there's an integration that needs to occur here. Of course, we have to remember the commonality between Leo and Pisces is, of course, an aspect of creativity, right? But Leo is very more masculinely, physically expressive, maybe more in that creativity than Pisces. It doesn't mean that Pisces can't be. It's just that Pisces is more of that introverted, introspective, that vision of it in terms of that creativity that is coming through. Right, so there is maybe something surrounding this. Yeah, I'm feeling, especially with that sextile from Mars to the South Node, letting go of certain old ideals of that masculine aspect and focusing with the focal point here of that yod on Venus in Pisces, especially with that feminine flowing vibe that is now kind of coming through here, and valuing that really as it is coming up, and it's helping with that shift, like I said, that I mentioned, into this new way. Because as we head into these new areas, I feel like the feminine energy is really going to be likely helping us through this, which means we need more of that positive masculine expression to support that feminine energy as well as we move into these new spaces and new areas. Okay, I have never talked so much about divine masculine and divine feminine energy in my life than I have in the past few weeks of doing all of these videos. So pay attention to what that is, and that's the energies within us. If you want to talk about like twin flame, divine counterpart stuff, relate that to that as well, I guess, if that's your vibe. Yeah, but again, it does relate to all of us as well, as we carry both energies within us. Also, Venus is in semi-sextile to Pluto that peaks on this day as well. So again, with that quincunx to Mars, that semi-sextile to Pluto, with that Pluto in opposition to Mars, there's that aspect of that masculine expression from the heart, the uniqueness, the individuality, learning to embrace that aspect of diversity and understanding and difference and all of that, and how it relates to these feminine ideals of going with the flow. That I'm feeling drawn to that feminine aspect of Pisces, of like Pisces itself, where creativity, anything is possible, that aspect of it. And like it's just that masculine support that is ultimately coming through, and the changes that need to occur here, diversity, all of that stuff that I've already previously mentioned surrounding all of this. Okay, let's move on to Saturday the 4th here. So on Saturday the 4th, we're going to have Mercury in biquintile to Mars. So again, this is the expansion of awareness, of beliefs, etc. More on just what I've already been talking about surrounding Mars retrograde, masculine energy, etc. Except the biquintile is that behind the scenes, very feminine, creative, flowing type of energy, but that maybe now is coming through and showing its face, or it's working behind the scenes through whatever this awareness was that came up. But now that we're moving forward in with Mercury out of shadow, moving forward in more of that expansion of awareness, etc. Remember, we still have Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, Mercury signs. These planets and these signs are still playing off of each other's energies, enhancing both of that in terms of whatever that awareness is that is coming through here. So there's maybe a creative solution or creative flow that is now coming through to help with whatever this is, through that expansion of belief, awareness, etc., moving in new directions, etc. It's all about expansion and moving in new directions, change, healing. A lot of that seem to be the themes of this week as well, and even carrying on from prior weeks as well that I've talked about already. All right, so again, this could be behind the scenes stuff now coming to fruition, coming through. This could be also still be us just working behind the scenes through this stuff. This could also be seen as fate as well in certain ways too, coming through. But remember, fate is what you create, okay? So, or what we're manifesting, or what source is manifesting, or a collective manifestation that is likely coming through these themes that are occurring here as we're heading through the shifts that are happening. All right, we're also going to have the Sun here in sextile to Saturn in Pisces. So remember, Saturn is also the ruler of Capricorn, where the Sun is. However, I do consider Saturn in Pisces to be the dissolution of that malefic energy. So with that sextile here, I feel like, again, that's more of that grounding that in, right? Because we're dealing with a lot of this Piscean energy where Saturn is now, and now the Sun is there, and they're in sextile. This can be tough. This could be very Capricornian, but I feel like, okay, it's grounding in a lot of that feminine stuff, a lot of that Piscean flowing type of energy that we're now heading into, that is coming through to whatever this new foundation or new world vibe that is now coming through here with this Piscean type of energy, with the nodal shift and all of that kind of stuff. It's kind of what that feels like in terms of grounding that in and dissolving that old stuff, but building that foundation for the new, right? And like I said before, Saturn teaches through restriction. So restriction in Pisces through restriction of that vastness, that expansion, but also restriction of that compassion type of energy. But that's where we need to expand. So we're expanding in those areas and dissolving those old structures, those old ways, those old things, and now grounding that in with that sextile there to the Sun as well. All right, so we've also got here on this day, Mars in trine to the North Node here, and in sextile to the South Node. Okay, so what I feel for this is that kind of the new direction for the masculine, as Mars actually rules Aries. We're at that 0 degrees of Aries. This is a critical degree in astrology, at that 0 degree point with that north node, with that trine, especially with Mars retrograde going that over that old ground, those old spaces, still in opposition to Pluto, where we need to make those transformations and changes that I've already talked about regarding that masculine expression. And moving in a new direction, a new identity going forward, and releasing what is no longer serving us, what is no longer in balance, what is out of balance, what's causing codependency, what's causing all those negative relationship bullshit, what is causing injustices, what is causing things to be outcast, right? There's, again, here, a binovile to Black Moon Lilith here from this Mars. So we are learning, especially with this retrograde, in terms of more of a positive expression from the heart of the masculine, and not being so outcast within relationships. So maybe the masculine is not becoming so outcast anymore within other people, relationships, etc., because learning that expression from the heart and the value and etc. of uniqueness, individuality, that transformation of Pluto, that aspect of diversity, giving power to that aspect of diversity, humanitarianism, that unconditional love for all that is now coming through, and that expression from the masculine, in terms of learning, giving birth to healing that, and not being maybe outcast anymore, or finding balance to that in that way too, as this is coming through. But there is something that's being let go here to move forward in a new direction for that type of masculine energy at that 0 degree mark. It's interesting, it's at 0 degree mark, that critical degree that's really pushing, intensifying these aspects going forward here. And I mean, as we're dealing with sextile and trines, these are positive things that are ultimately occurring here as we go forward. Again, Baroque and smoke alarm agrees. All right, so that's Saturday. That looks to be all I have got for this week. All right, with all that being said, if you have made it this far in this video, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And again, if you have made it this far, as I always say at the end of my videos, leave a purple heart in the comments below so that I know you're a real one. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, everyone. Bye for now. Bye.